Hey everyone, welcome back to Nuts and Bolts, the hardware of subscription commerce. Did that work?
I think so.
We still need a better title. We'll see.
Yeah.
This is me, your co-host, Joel Van Horn, and we've got you, Ben Fisher, here.
Ben Fisher. DJ Fish. AKA.
Co-hosting today. Yeah. We are definitely novices in the intro business, but we'll figure it out at some point. Ben and I have been talking a lot the last couple days, or really weeks, about customer experience. Years, right? Customer experience around subscription e-commerce. And like one of the things that came up recently was whether or not every merchant should actually sell virtually every product as a subscription, right? Is a subscription warranted for every product? What do you think, Ben?
I mean, the obvious answer is no, not everything should be a subscription. I think I just got off a really interesting conversation with a fairly new friend. It's Daniel. He and I talk like once a year. So I think we're going from acquaintance.
It's a good friend.
It's someone who you have a great conversation with, and then you make a point to stay in touch. So I'd like to consider him a friend, an internet friend.
Yeah. Totally.
But Daniel, super talented growth marketer, works with a lot of D2C brands, and part of what we were talking about was just his experience on the growth side around what he has seen, like a lot of pressure from VCs to incorporate subscriptions into the business model of D2C brands. And I think it actually goes back to the statistic that I mentioned in the last episode around the prediction is that by 2023, 75% of direct-to-consumer brands will offer a subscription.
Yeah.
I mean, and then that did not surprise you. I think, but what's interesting is it goes back to is like, but should everything be a subscription? What are examples where subscriptions are good? What are situations where subscriptions are bad? Another stat I'd read was that 50% of subscriptions most people cancel within the first period. So there's clearly like, so the short answer is well, why are they canceling? Is it because the product's not a good natural subscription? Is it because it's not a good product, or they're not a good match for that product? I think one of the interesting things that came from my conversation with Daniel, though, is that he was giving an example of like, he was talking about the pressure of people to offer subscriptions, and he was saying that the reason that's like so many people churn when they subscribe to a product, it's not that they don't love the product or that they don't want the product, but as soon as you have like a single bad experience, like that's the moment. Like his example was body wash, right? Like, okay, so is body wash a great natural subscription product? Well, you do take a shower and you run out of body wash.
Yeah.
And his point
theoretically.
What's that?
Theoretically, yeah.
You
want to keep staying clean.
Yeah. His example though is that like as soon as someone doesn't receive the body wash when they need it, like they're just going to go to CVS because they need body wash. And like at that point, that's like when you've lost them as a customer, because it just took that one experience of you needed it, you didn't have it. So in that case, like the subscription was not convenient. And so what he went back to was talking about how one of the major issues around subscriptions is a lot of these brands don't have enough information to anticipate when someone needs the product. Today, a lot of the subscription cycles or intervals are like every 30 days, every 60, 90, whatever. I think one area where there will inevitably need to be a lot of improvement, and one thing you and I have talked about, I like to think that we coined it. I don't know if we did, but it's a
just-in-time subscriptions.
Yeah, where it's.
I like to think we coined it too. I try to use it as much as I can.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it's good.
We get credit for it, which I think is like it's a powerful idea. The truth is, though,
it really
it's
is
not appealing to brands because it's not a subscription. But I think the hypothesis is that it's definitely a better, more customer-centric way to offer subscriptions. And so the assumption here is that if that is true, if it's more customer-centric and it's a better customer experience, then you're more likely to reduce churn by offering that, and so you'll increase LTV, and it'll just be a better brand experience. You'll have more people promoting your brand, etc. I think I I can't say, and so the assumption there is that yes, it'll ultimately be a better business decision. It'll have a better benefit for the business, but I have no evidence of that. But I thought that was interesting. I think,
well, I think with the just-in-time subscriptions, it's kind of the other end of the spectrum, right? You've got the automated actual subscription product someone decides to subscribe to, and there you don't really know when they've finished using it, so that they replenish it at the right time. I mean, there's some products where you can have a better guess at it, right? But just-in-time subscriptions is the opposite, right? Where you're trying to gauge when you think they might want it, but it's not even just the commitment that you're not imposing on that customer, but you're seemingly more thoughtful, right? Like it seems like, okay, they're emailing me right around the right time. It doesn't mean I have to buy it right now, right? Maybe I'll buy it next week, and that kind of a thing. So the timing piece of it, where people don't feel like they just got ripped off by either having to buy another one when they don't need it, or they feel disappointed because they ran out and didn't get the next one yet. It creates that, I think it's that lack of commitment that makes it kind of a better relationship. But marketers or merchants, as much as they want to create a relationship with their customer, I think they want that transaction and that revenue guaranteed. And then, talking about investors, like they love that idea of a guaranteed revenue and projection in terms of revenue growth that just-in-time subscriptions don't offer you, right?
Yeah, no, it'd be an interesting experiment though, and I think my guess is that there's a best of both worlds, where there's a segment of your customers who want to just buy when they want it. They will buy more frequently by having a soft reminder to buy the product, as well as that's a great opportunity to say, hey, these are other things you might want to buy too. There's a segment of your customers who will just be like, I don't want to think about it at all, just send me the product. But even then, you still need and should expose the ability for the consumer to have more controls over the subscription experience. I think that's it's easier to do with digital products in some ways, at least around the controls. When you're dealing with fulfillment and all of the supply chain stuff. I was talking to someone the other day where he expressed, like, he was lost as a customer because he was shopping on Grove, which has, I think, like, sustainable products. And
cleaning
he
supplies.
paid for effectively their Amazon Prime, where it's like free shipping for like a year. And every time you'd buy, he would put a product in his cart because they would ask him 3 days before the product was mailed. By the time they mailed the product, they were out of inventory for that product.
Really?
And it happened multiple times. And we're talking about like fairly standard like soap and shampoo. And it wasn't just one time, it was frequently. And so he ended up just canceling his Grove Prime account. And so
was that on a subscription?
Yeah.
It was to replenish it, and every time to replenish, they just didn't have any inventory?
Yeah. Well, I think with Grove, you can even change which products are, like, it basically is like a basket of stuff that you want to receive. But the thing is that they would email him, as far as I understand it, like 3 days ahead of mailing it, and by the time the order was actually supposed to be completed, like, so basically it was a draft order, and then when the subscription was actually like renewed, or they like mail it, it's like, I guess they don't lock in inventory or something. They should for all upcoming orders, but that's an inventory management issue. Which, so again, like when you're talking about logistics around fulfillment and subscriptions, that's like, and going back to Daniel's point, he was saying that people churn, like, you have this margin of error in the experience that as soon as you lose a customer because the product isn't there at the right time when they need it. And so the way that businesses or subscription brands deal with it today is they either they often overcompensate, either by sending it to you too frequently or sending you too much. But that's also a reason why people churn. And so I think we're, and not to be self-serving, but what we've found with the Pony was focused on enabling brands to do these just-in-time subscriptions effectively, or being able to offer just-in-time subscriptions, where it's like, how do you eliminate friction from a gentle reminder to buy a product to actually being able to purchase it. And I mean, and there's a lot. I mean, there's just so much. Every brand is different. Bigger brands.
Well, I wonder what's going.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I wonder what's going on with Grove in terms of the inventory side of it, because one of the nice things about subscription is it actually creates a way to predict the inventory you need. It sounds like either they've got a technical problem, or they're oversubscribed and are not doing a good job in communicating that, or even prioritizing who should get orders, right? I can see that being a challenge, and maybe you're trying to do both, right? Trying to get more customers and, I don't know, delay as long as you can and hope they get more inventory in terms of disappointing your current customers. But that's a little bit of a surprising situation I haven't really heard of too much.
Well, and I think in Grove's case, it's not that you subscribe to get the soap, it's that every month they'll send you stuff for your house. And so you have like 3 days to put into your cart the different things that you want to buy. And so it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not like you're just subscribing to the same thing every time. That's my understanding. Got it. I could be getting this wrong, but I believe that. It also would make sense why they'd be out of inventory so quickly. I guess.
I mean, for me, I had tried, I don't know if it's cleaning supplies. I know like some bathroom supplies and things like that. I tried Amazon Subscribe and Save and ended up just having a stockpile of probably 6 months of inventory and had to just cancel it. And it was like, face creams and things like that. So I think with bathroom supplies, like toilet paper and so on and so forth, it's really hard to know how much you're going to go through, right? And how soon and when you want the next order to come in. But with like food, for instance, depending on the type of food, and maybe it's more predictable. Like if you get, I don't know, protein bars or something, and you get a 24 pack, then maybe that lasts you 24 days or something like that. If you get a meal plan, right, like Freshly or something, where they're literally sending you, lunch and dinner for the exact week, assuming you eat it every single day, they know exactly when you'll run out. You could still, go on vacation and things like that, where you end up having a little extra food, or have people over who eat some of your meals and you run out of food. But by and large, I think those are the types of things that maybe just like basic examples where the replenishment schedule is a little bit more obvious. But to me, I've never really, I haven't given it too much thought, but I've never really seen a way to know how long face cream is going to last you.
Right.
Maybe the face cream company knows just based on purchase trends or something, but to me, I wouldn't know what cadence to choose.
Larger brands, I mean, I have a big face because I'm 6 feet, right?
There you go.
That's another factor. If someone who's 5 feet got the face cream and they have like a small head, then it'll last longer for them than for someone like me who's 6 feet and has a large head.
That is a real factor. You're absolutely
and also
right.
I have a beard, so I don't necessarily put the face cream. And I'm bald-ish, though, so then I put on the head. So that's a good point. That's actually maybe an example of where just-in-time subscriptions,
just-in-time,
trademark pending, makes sense. I think, but what's interesting in this, I have to give all the credit to Daniel on this, because this is another thing he said. I feel in some ways I need to have like footnotes to this podcast, or at least this episode. Is he was talking about how
promote his brand.
Yeah. Larger brands, they have the customer, like it's like the CRM team, right? Like they have the customer relationship team, or customer success, customer support. It depends on the organization. Like at a really large brand, they've probably invested a lot of time and resources in understanding and anticipating people's usage patterns or usage. But if you're a relatively small brand doing let's call it less than 15 million a year, you don't likely have that team, and maybe you don't even have enough data to be able to anticipate that. And so
that's very true.
I think I would expect that the larger brands, especially like the larger legacy CPG brands, they just have the resources to be able to have a better idea of that. So that was interesting. And this actually does remind me, though. You told me that you wanted me to talk about my experience today because I'm on this subscription.
Oh yeah.
So I'm using this in preparation for the wedding, but also just because of like for my fitness goals, I'm on a subscription meal plan where they order me food through DoorDash. I believe it's basically a bunch of smart engineers have somehow figured out how many calories and like nutritional content that I need at my height to be able to get down to the weight that I want, and they order 2 meals a day for me, and it's delivered by DoorDash. I'm able to pick the window of time that each meal arrives, and I'm able to rate whether I like the meal or not, and then I report every single day my weight. What's interesting, and I'll say what's frustrating, like there's some cool features about it, one of which is they call it a geo shift. So Rebecca went and visited her mom over the weekend, so like Rebecca's been playing with this too, because couples who eat together,
that's good.
Yeah. Eat together, stay together. Exactly. And so all she had to do was do a geo shift where she gave the address of her mom's home, and her food showed up there, right? For both,
cool.
For like over the course of 2 days. She didn't have to think about it. My meal continued coming to me in New York at our apartment.
That's awesome.
But then, like, because they don't control the full supply chain, and so maybe this is, I guess, it's a supply chain issue. Not supply chain. Well, it's not vertically integrated.
Almost call it that.
They're using DoorDash, and so DoorDash, they make an order through DoorDash through like the hummus and pita place that I love. DoorDash texts me saying, "Oh, your Dasher is going to come pick up your food." The person never showed up. It's like 3 hours later, I still don't have my food, and so I've emailed Clockwork Nutrition twice with a screenshot saying my food's still not here, and it's so that is a challenge because on one hand they don't have control over quality assurance, like they're not getting the text messages because they have to make it convenient. I'm getting the notifications because I'm the one who has to receive the.
Okay, so you are getting that communication from.
But
the
it's not my
person.
DoorDash account, so I don't know how to communicate. I don't have access. Like.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, like they're using their credit card. I pay them. They, so I assume they're racking up tons of travel miles.
Points. Yeah, that's right.
It's an interesting business model. But
so did you not get a notification at all that your delivery is on its way?
No, I haven't gotten any, and so I've emailed them, and this has happened a few times. It's frustrating.
Okay.
When it works, it's awesome. And to their credit, like I have consistently lost about 2.5 pounds a week.
Oh.
And I've been doing this for about 4 weeks, so it's like working, and I've been very happy with it. But and they do have these controls around, like GeoShift is cool because we went to Costa Rica for a week a couple of weeks ago, and so I was able to
they deliver there.
They actually would. They would have, but we were at a resort.
Would they really?
Yeah. So like their whole they gave me like on my onboarding call, they gave crazy examples of like, oh yeah, we've like delivered in like Puerto Rico and like found like little villages where like food could be delivered. Like it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's like a SWAT team giving you your food.
That is kind of cool.
But
coming in by airplane.
Yeah. But this goes back to what we were talking around, like convenience and personalization.
Yeah.
I don't really have a whole lot of control over the types of meals that they're picking for me. That was one of my biggest frustrations up front, was like they don't ask you really your food preference. So they gave me some stuff early on where I was just like, I almost canceled. I thought about canceling because I was like, I don't want this. Luckily, I was able to.
They're going to keep giving you that,
yeah. And their whole thing is they don't want to give you the same thing every day. But I basically was like, I'm a creature of habit. I want the same thing every day. I will not get tired of it. So
everyone knows you eat Chipotle every day. I used to, at least.
And so we've worked, but like it's interesting because it does go back to like what Daniel said, where it's like, like this type of experience that I just had today is really frustrating. And if I go to if I have to order directly from the restaurant now, they're not going to lose me as a customer for getting other benefits, but like it makes me
right.
And one of the issues too is they don't do a great job. They have these perks around like the geo shift and skipping meals, but their weaknesses, and I've told them all this through email, so I've given them my feedback, but it's like I don't know if I'm getting credit for the meals that are missed, right? Like they're still charging me like whatever my price is.
That's interesting.
I want more visibility into like, okay, I skipped a week. They always do their billing on Thursdays, so it's a little bit confusing where you're like, well, I didn't get food this week, but you billed me because I was on vacation. Like, oh no, it's for the upcoming week because we always do billing on Thursdays. So I think it goes back.
So are they billing you like a flat rate on a weekly basis, and all meals are included?
Yeah, it's 2 meals a day.
Interesting.
But when I skip, I have no idea, like, well, if I skip, but you're still billing me on Thursdays, they're not prorating the invoice. So I have and there's no, like, record in their control panel around what spends credits. And so I'm right now kind of just trusting them, like...
Yeah, I mean, you'll figure it out at some point if they keep charging the same amount, but you haven't actually had the same number of meals that you paid for.
Yeah.
To reconcile that. But do you think about this consciously every day, like whether or not your meals arrived? I mean, obviously, you know when you're getting hungry that you haven't had food, but you don't look at your settings or preferences or anything, right? Like you just expect
like that's
it to
part
arrive
of the magic of it is it just arrives and it shows up. I get a text message from DoorDash saying, "Hey, your food's on its way." But today I got a text message from DoorDash and then no food.
Then no food. Oh wow! I must have gone like next door or something.
No, but it's happened a few times. It's like sometimes the Dasher won't pick up your food. Like so, the restaurant prepared it, but DoorDash I assume didn't pick it up, or maybe the restaurant happened to be closed.
Oh yeah, it could be.
I don't know.
Well, so I'm wondering, when you're heading out of town, like, is the first thing in your mind, oh, I better, skip or postpone this thing?
Well, I tell.
Or do you have to actually remember it? Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Do you think about other subscriptions that you have too, consciously like that? Maybe none of them really are that oriented towards where you are physically, but I'm curious.
I mean, I keep a list. I have like a quarterly reminder on my calendar to review all my subscriptions to see if there's anything for me to prune. I often will, when I first sign up for something, I'll often disable auto renew because if I'm actually truly using it, I'll have to like re-enable. I'll do the work of re-enabling it when it tells me my payment failed or I'm going to lose service. That's like a way that I've found that I don't just quietly have a bunch of subscriptions, because you told me that one of the things about me that I've told you is like I will subscribe to like anything if I think it'll save me time.
Yes.
And
yeah, I mean that's one of the things that I learned about you 10 years ago is that you're willing to spend money, and like you must have had hundreds of dollars a month in various software licenses and like everything
thousands
around your Great, thousands. To me, hundreds was a lot for these things that were like little calendar software, little password software, little this, that, and the other thing. But yeah, I mean, I picked up a lot of obviously the tools from you, literally, and then over time realized very quickly that it's not worth my time doing some of this work. It's much better just to pay someone. But then you have to make use of it, right? Like you have to make use of those tools so that it's worth the money. In that vein, I think with going back to what we were talking about initially, right? It's like, should every product be a subscription or not? It's like, I don't know. I imagine there's someone who can make a case that any product should be a subscription. I think the vast majority of people might not agree with that, and wouldn't be that customer, right? So you wouldn't have necessarily a large customer base in terms of subscription. But as I'm trying to figure out, like thinking how you do, or in some regard, of what are the different things I can outsource in my life, like, meals, groceries, things like that, like already talked about, bathroom supplies and that kind of stuff, does make sense. But as a user, you end up going to a handful of different websites or apps to manage the schedule for each of those things. And, when it's fragmented like that, my initial instinct is to think that everything just feels transactional because of that. I haven't really subscribed to, like,
pun intended,
some of the popular no, I meant literally, actually.
Oh, okay.
I haven't subscribed to some of the brands that are popular, like Daily Harvest, right? Like, I did work on their platform years and years ago, but I have not been a customer since they've grown to a huge known brand. But subscribers say that it's a really nice experience, managing your schedule, choosing different options with products. They have 10 times as many products as when I worked with them. And so I wonder, people who are very regimented, if they have a stronger connection to certain brands who actually make it feel like managing their subscription is kind of like part of their life and taking their own life into consideration, talking about like schedules and things, that kind of thing. And if that's something that can translate to every subscription or not, right? I mean, have you had experience with any subscriptions where you're managing your account or the products and it just feels like they've created features that take into account how busy you are, or is it really just arbitrary?
No one takes into account how busy I am, except for my calendar. Except for my latest experiment has been with my calendaring, which I use is called Motion. Which part of what it does is it looks at your calendar and tries to make sure it intelligently organizes meetings so that they're not spread across throughout your day, and like you can specify ideal times of the day to have calls. So that's the value of it, is it does take into account how busy I am. I think
that's interesting, though.
Yeah,
right. It's interesting. It takes into account when you want to do a certain type of thing in your life,
and it does list when someone goes to book time with me. It says preferred time. I think I still have it where they can choose a time I haven't added as preferred, but I could disable that, I believe. I've also had a virtual trainer for the last 2 years. I use Future. So like when I go on vacation, they don't let you skip, unfortunately. I wish they did. So that's kind of frustrating. But I get enough value out of the virtual trainer because it's a lot less money than hiring a trainer at my gym. And he does deal with some of the nutritional stuff. He puts together like unique workouts, and I have video demonstrations of every single exercise. It tracks it tells me how much weight to probably do based off my most recent session. Then it tracks my progress, which is not that unique, but it's the combination of having a real human being who's giving you who's advising you or coaching you, plus the video. Like, I don't have to think about what I've done here is I've eliminated having to think about macros, because the clockwork people, when the food shows up, have eliminated that. My trainer has eliminated the need for me to have to figure out how do I accomplish a lot of my physical goals from like the gym stuff.
You're eliminating having to keep track of this stuff because you're outsourcing.
Rent is a subscription, right?
Yes,
healthcare is a subscription.
Insurance, all that stuff. But I think those are great examples, though, because you're buying a product that has personalization built in, and it's outsourcing, having to think about something that you would normally track yourself. So, which is not really a product, right? That's part of the personalization. I guess I wonder if more brands took into account how you're using the product and the things that could be outsourced to the brand, how much more, how many more customers they might have.
Do you have any examples?
I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, right? Like, exercise and diet, I think, are very clear ones that are hard too, right? It's hard to keep track of that stuff. It's hard to do the math on whatever it is you're eating. So I think those are very obvious areas. Other things that, outsourcing.
I think WeLive tried to do that. They tried to outsource living.
That's kind of it's almost like outsourcing social life, right? It was like the real world.
Well, they also
where you just
provided
live in this place and
stuff. Like they provided your housing, they provided like social area, they provided the experience
and friends. They provided friends.
They tried to remove friction of like every aspect of living.
Yeah, exactly. That's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I just think about those two things, right? Like, how can the customer experience take into account more the other things you're thinking about as you're trying to make that thing fit your life? Again, I'll stick with Daily Harvest, trying to figure out when are you going to get your next order of food, thinking about, okay, well, I'm going to be, out of town this day and, on vacation that day, and, I'm going to have family in town, maybe I should get some extra smoothies so that they've got some, and, like, I imagine a lot of people have that thought process of planning, particularly with food, who are they going to feed and when and where.
This is why they have assistants.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this is
the
way that it was. We'll say by like the way it was addressed by wealthy families historically was they had personal chefs, they have nannies,
yeah.
they have personal assistants, executive assistants. I think a lot of what we're seeing is productizing, or it's the unbundling of these like assistants, whether it's a personal chef or whatever. Yeah, no, I mean and they're like trying to convert it into software or services.
That's exactly right. Those were the initial subscriptions. They actually have them in their house physically doing these things for them. So I think in my mind that's where customer experience needs to go, right? Is continuing to digitize that experience, kind of figure out how to take those other factors and the thought process around deciding why someone's pausing, why someone's canceling or skipping or adding or removing, products to their subscription. Understanding why can, lead to more functionality. It feels more personalized and useful, right? And all in the spirit of retention.
And I'd say for anyone listening, if you have experience or done any tests around, we'll call it like what might seem like short-term trade-offs, like instead of putting someone on a subscription, offering them a just-in-time subscription or something in that vein, we'd be curious to understand what impact on revenue or what are the different metrics you were looking at, what was the ultimate result. We'd also love to just hear about any brands who you think do a particularly good job. We gave a few on this call, and we can add links to those brands in the show notes. But no, I think this is a great opportunity, an interesting opportunity to just understand, like, we kind of treat subscriptions as a thing that have been done, but there's a whole lot more around the customer experience side where there's room to improve.
Yeah, and I think we both are working in kind of solving these kinds of problems for people in various ways, and it's not just the customer experience piece, but I don't subscribe to every single product out there. I don't even keep up with what the latest, coolest thing is to subscribe to, so I would love to know what the good experiences are.
I'll tell you those things. That's why you rely on me. That's why we're friends.
Yeah, I mean, I'm running out of good advice from you because I've tried everything except for that Clockwork one, which I'm not going to try quite yet. They got some bugs to work out.
Okay.
All right, well, that's
all right.
Good episode. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
All right.
See you next time.